Hello and good morning, students. Your topic for today's lecture is antimicrobial resistance, antibiotic sensitivity testing, and antibiotic stewardship. Now, this is one of the most important topics, and for this current scenario which is going on in this world, it is very important as majority of the drugs or antibiotics that we are using is not working on the organisms because the resistance has increased tremendously. So we'll move on to the topic. So at the end of this lecture, you are supposed to have a knowledge of various antimicrobial agents or the drugs that we use. You should understand what is the meaning of drug resistance and how the resistance mechanism works. You should also know how to test for sensitivity or resistance of a particular drug towards an organism, and how can you prevent such drug resistance in the society. So first of all, you should know what are the antimicrobial agents. So what are they? They are nothing but agents that kill or inhibit the growth of microorganisms. So we have seen the first part, that based on the microorganisms that are affected, they are classified. And secondly, based on the ability to either kill or inhibit the organism, they are divided into bactericidal or bacteriostatic drugs. Now, if a particular drug they kill the microorganism, they are called as bactericidal, and if they just inhibit the organism but do not kill them, they are called as bacteriostatic. The third classification is based on the site of action. Like if we use the antimicrobial agent on dead surfaces, for example floors or walls or various surfaces like tables, cupboards, etc., they are all disinfectants. Like sodium hypochlorite or Lysol or phenol that we use at our homes, they are all disinfectants because we apply it on the dead surface. Now if we use the solution on live surface like skin or mucosal surface, then they are called as antiseptics. For example, Dettol or Savlon that we use on the skin, and the betadine gargles that we do, they are all antiseptics because they act on the live surface. And thirdly, antibiotics, which we can apply locally or we take orally or in injectable form, they are antibiotics. So this was the third way of classifying the antimicrobial agent. And the fourth way is based on the mechanism of action of a particular drug. Suppose for example we take a antibacterial agent. Now this antibacterial agent can act either on the cell wall of the bacteria or the cytoplasmic membrane of the bacteria, or they may decrease the nucleic acid synthesis, that is they work on the genetic mechanism of the bacteria. Then based on the mechanism of action, we classify the various antibacterial or antimicrobial agents. So this is how we classify the antimicrobial agents. Now we have seen regarding antimicrobial agents. We will move on to the next topic, that is antimicrobial resistance. Resistance means that a particular drug is not working on an organism and therefore the patient is not getting better. So what are the various causes by which the resistance occur? We are going to see one by one. Now first of all, you should know that development of resistance to an drug can occur by two methods. Is of two types basically. First is intrinsic resistance and second is acquired resistance. Acquired resistance, as the name suggests, is acquired. That is, the organism was susceptible or was sensitive to a particular drug. That is, the drug was acting on the microorganism or killing or inhibiting it in the earlier stages. But later on, that bacteria or that organism has developed resistance. And the most important cause for this resistance is overuse and misuse of the antimicrobial agents. So basically, the acquired resistance is acquired. This resistant bacterial population, they flourish in areas of high antimicrobial use, where they enjoy a selective advantage over susceptible population. Now the example can be seen in this diagram. Now the red colored structure indicate that it is a resistant bacterium and yellow color indicates susceptible bacterium. Now this was the picture before antibiotic start, that the resistant bacterium were very less and susceptible bacterium, that is the bacterium on which the drug was effective, were huge in amount. But once we start the antibiotic, these resistant bacteria, they start flourishing, and in the end you can see all the bacteria are seen red in color. That is, all the bacteria have turned resistant. Simple example that we can give is the theory of Darwin. We know that survival of the fittest is the rule. If the environment is unfavorable, only the organisms that have the capability to survive are going to flourish. So similarly, because of the pressure of the antibiotics, only the resistant bacterium were able to survive, and finally they multiplied and increase in number. So this is an example of acquired resistance. Now this acquired resistance can be mutational drug resistance or transferable drug resistance. You just have to remember the names. In mutational drug resistance, the resistance is transferred from parent to the child, from parent bacteria or parent pathogen to the offspring. That is, it is a vertical spread only. And in transferable drug resistance, it is a horizontal spread. That is, transfer from one organism to other organism, any of the organism. So this is a horizontal spread, which is more dangerous. These two are examples of acquired resistance. Now, what are the factors that favor the spread of acquired resistance? This includes poor infection control practices in hospitals or inadequate sanitary conditions. Like if we are not maintaining proper environment, if we are not cleaning the surfaces, not cleaning the floors, then the resistant bacteria might multiply in number. Also, inappropriate food handling or irrational use of antibiotics by doctors or clinicians can also play important role. Uncontrolled sale of antibiotics over the counters without the prescription. Wherever we are overusing or misusing the antibiotics, then there is a huge amount of chance of generating resistance, rather acquired resistance. Now we have seen regarding one part what is acquired resistance. Now second type of resistance is intrinsic resistance. That is, the organism is naturally resistant towards a drug because of its structural or functional characteristics. There are some structures or some function that is present in the bacteria naturally, because of which from the get-go, from the beginning, they are resistant towards a particular drug. Now, how does the antimicrobial resistance work? Now, a organism has become resistant, but how are they resistant? First of all, when we give drug, it may occur that the permeability across the cell wall might get decreased. Suppose we give an antibacterial like azithromycin, suppose. Then there are some target sites which is present on the bacterium where this drug goes and attaches. So what this bacteria does is they can either modify the target site so that the drug cannot attach, or even if the drug is attached, the permeability across the cell wall is decreased. That is, the drug cannot enter into the bacteria. So either the attachment is improper, or if the attachment is proper, then the drug is not able to enter the cell. So this is one mode of resistance. Now, second mode of resistance is that if the drug has entered into the cell wall, then the bacteria might easily expulse this drug from the cell. मतलब ड्रग सेल के अंदर आ चुका है, बट उसको इजीली बाहर भेज दिया जाता है. So this is the second mechanism by which resistance can be seen. Now, if the drug has entered into the cell wall plus the organism is not able to expel it, that is not able to make the drug go away from the cell, then it has the third option to generate some kind of enzyme which can act on the drug and inactivate it. अभी ड्रग सेल के अंदर भी आ गया है, पर हम जो बैक्टीरिया है वो निकाल भी नहीं पा रहा है, तो फिर थर्ड ऑप्शन है कि उसको इनएक्टिवेट कर दो, उस ड्रग को इनएक्टिवेट कर दो बाय प्रोडक्शन ऑफ एंजाइम्स. So this is the third mechanism. These were the various mechanisms by which bacteria can develop resistance. Now, how will you know that a drug is sensitive or resistant? Then for that we can perform a test called as antimicrobial susceptibility test. Here we can come to know whether the drug is sensitive or resistant. That is, whether a drug can work on a particular organism or cannot work on the organism. So that based on that we can give a particular drug to a patient. Suppose a drug is resistant, then there is no use of giving that drug to the patient. The patient will not respond. So before giving any antibiotic, we have to check whether it will work on the patient or not. So for that we have to perform this test, that is antimicrobial susceptibility testing. Now what are the various methods for doing this test? Just you should know the names. First is disc diffusion method that we are going to see in detail. Second is dilution method, that is broth dilution, agar dilution method. Third is ipsilometer or e-test. And fourth is the automatic AST. Now the first three, that is disc diffusion, dilution, ipsilometer, they are all manual methods. That is, the technician will perform the test from starting to the end. But the automated AST means the machine will itself provide us with the result and we don't have to do much for it. Now the most common and the most important tests that we perform in our laboratory is the Kirby-Bure disc diffusion method. Here we use the media, that is Mueller-Hinton agar. And here is a small video regarding how we perform this Kirby-Bure disc diffusion method. Now firstly, we label the MHA plate.
Next, we're going to use a sterile swab to inoculate the plate. Grab the test tube and remove the cap and gently flame sterilize. Dip the swab into the bacterial broth. Remove from the tube and gently flame sterilize. Recap the tube. Next, pick up the plate and using the swab in a side-to-side motion, swab the plate gently. The idea is to create a uniform layer of bacteria. To do this, slightly rotate the plate twice. When the entire surface of the plate has been covered, dispose of the swab in the biohazard container. With a marker, divide the plate into 4 quadrants. Flame sterilize the forceps and make certain the ethanol has burned off completely and allow it to briefly cool. Pick up a disc carefully and place within 1 quadrant and tap lightly. Flame sterilize the forceps between placing discs.
Now in this video we have seen that first of all the technician took a sterile swab and dipped it into the broth, nutrient broth, which has the organism. Then the swab is spread uniformly on the Mueller-Hinton agar, and we have to rotate the plate twice or thrice so that uniform spreading of the organism occurs. Then we apply using a sterile forceps the drug, the disc of the drug, and then we incubate this plate in incubator for 24 hours. Now once 24 hours are complete, we will get growth of organism as shown in the picture, and we will also get a zone, a spherical zone of various diameters. Now in this picture you are able to see 5 drugs have been applied. These drugs are of 6 mm size, and around each drug there is a various diameter zone we can see, and this zone is called as zone of inhibition, and based on this we can find out whether the organism is susceptible or resistant towards a drug. Now in the picture you have seen that there is a larger zone, larger circle. The larger the circle, the more is the sensitivity of the drug towards the organism. The organism is more sensitive towards the drug. The drug was able to stop the bacteria from coming near it. That's why the drug was effective on the organism. And in one of the picture you can see that the zone is, now in this area you can see the zone is very small. That is, the drug was not able to stop the organism from coming near it. That means the organism is resistant to that drug, and we cannot give this drug to the patient because the organism that is present in the body of the patient won't be killed by it. So this is the basic of antimicrobial sensitivity testing, or rather antibiotic sensitivity testing. Now based on charts we are able to find out what is the sensitivity pattern, whether the organism is sensitive or resistant. This was regarding disc diffusion method. The second method is the epsilometer or e-test method. It is similar to Kirby-Bure disc diffusion method, but in Kirby-Bure method we use a disc which has the drug and it is having a constant concentration, but here we use a strip. This is called as E-strip, and here the concentration of the drug is variable, and such ellipsoid growth can be seen, and based on the reading we can find out whether organism is sensitive or resistant towards a drug. You just have to remember the name. And thirdly, as we have seen, we can also use automated machines. That is, the machines will itself run the sample and give us the organism and also give us the antibiotic sensitivity pattern. And example most commonly used in our laboratory is Vitek 2. This is the machine, and this machine can give us results maximum in 18 hours. Now if we count the hours for conventional method, in which the technician themselves do the job from start to end, that is till getting the antibiotic pattern, it takes around 36 hours. But here the automated machine will give us a result in within 18 hours. So this is the advantage of it. Now we have seen what are the various antimicrobial agents. We have seen how they develop resistance. We have seen how we measure that resistance. So we have come to know that the resistance has increased. So we should follow some precautionary methods to stop such spread of resistance, and all these precautionary measures will come under antibiotic stewardship. Antibiotic stewardship is nothing but preventing the inappropriate or excessive antibiotic use, and by this decreasing the resistance. We are doing so that we can preserve the activity of existing agents. There are very few drugs that are remaining which can actually work on the patient. So to prevent such activity and preserve the already existing agent, we have to follow this stewardship, because we currently don't have many options for the same. We have not discovered some new drug right now. So we have to use the same drugs that are available, but because of the resistance, we are not able to use them. So we have to minimize the unintended use, unintended consequences like toxicity as well. How we can do is, we have to appropriately select a regimen. That is, we have to first of all check whether the drug is sensitive or resistant towards the organism that is present in the patient, and then give that drug only in proper dosage and proper route and for the proper duration. Like some of the people, they keep on taking antibiotics very frequently, and the duration is very variable. If we are supposed to give antibiotics for 3 days, many people take it for 10 days or even 15 days, or they take it for 2 or 3 days. So either excessive use or lower use than the recommended dosage or duration is harmful and can spread the resistance. Now we can also use the hospital antibiogram. Now whatever the susceptibility or resistance of a organism towards a drug, the whatever the chart that we obtain is nothing but a antibiogram, and we can come to know the organism that is present in the hospital, whether it is resistant or sensitive towards a particular drug. So based on that pattern, we can decide the drugs as well. Also, the thing that we can do is avoid therapy with overlapping activity. Like for example, there are two drugs and both of the drugs are having the same type of activity, then we should avoid usage of both the drugs simultaneously. Use at least either one of them. Based on the sensitivity, we have to use either one of them. Don't use simultaneously. This can also lead to increase in resistance. And rely on the reports that are given by the microbiologists. We have to review the culture results, and then we have to adjust the antibiotics. Also, over the counter use of drugs, like whenever a patient goes to the pharmacist and asks for any drug which can treat his either runny nose or sore throat or headache, and the pharmacist easily gives a antibiotic without prescription, then such behavior should be restricted. Also, we have to educate and train for proper antibiotic usage. We can do this by providing lectures and making the people understand regarding the stewardship and the principles. So this is in a nutshell regarding the antibiotic stewardship program, that we should enhance infection prevention and control by taking care of the hospital setup or the surroundings, by proper cleaning, like whether we touch a patient, we have to clean our hands before and after touching the patient, because even our skin has many pathogens which are present, which can be dangerous to the patient. Also, the environment, the bed railings or the floor must be clean, so that we can kill or inhibit the pathogen which is already present in the environment. Also, prescribing antibiotics only when they are truly needed. Avoiding unnecessary use of antibiotics is also coming under antibiotic stewardship. We have seen prescription in proper doses, in proper duration, for proper duration, reassessing the treatment when the culture results are available, monitoring regarding the antibiotic consumption, education of the staff, and having a interdisciplinary approach. These are all vital for antibiotic stewardship. So this is not only the responsibility of the patient, but also responsibility of the doctors or the pharmacists and whole of the population for maintaining this antibiotic stewardship. So this was all regarding today's lecture. This is the time to take antibiotic resistance seriously, and finding better scientific solutions is the true objective of antimicrobial stewardship. Thank you so much for your patient listening.